All right, let's talk weather here as we head into the Alabama weekend. Lots to get into, so we're just going to get right into it. SPC outlook for Friday. Okay, so we got a system that's coming through here, part of a big upper level trough that's going to swing through. But ahead of it, we have what's called a short wave. These are little kinks in the jet stream. We talked about it earlier this week. They are kind of outliers. They're not supported by a front, but they do have a change in wind aloft that can sometimes lead to us having showers and some thunderstorms, which is possible on Friday afternoon. We look ahead to Saturday, another marginal risk day. Want it known, our severe threat with this is very, very low. In fact, a lot of us might go the entirety of the weekend without having any rain at all. So it's a very interesting, very bizarre forecast. The one thing that's certain is the cold air that will follow on the other side of this. So from the upper level standpoint here, if we go in, I'm just going to back this up a little bit. This is the upper levels, and we like to see this because it kind of gives us a vision into what we're going to see perhaps at the surface. So let's go to Friday early afternoon. You see this little short wave here? This is the little, kink in the atmosphere that could lead to some spotty showers across the southeast. Again, it's not especially strong. Your much better forcing is going to be north of here, but nevertheless, that will be our potential rain threat on Friday. And then on Saturday, again, there's another little short wave that's out ahead of here. It's not easy to detect on this particular view, and then we look here at the big trough, and that's the storyteller right there. These are heights and wind direction. This will be a very strong trough. It will bring about the coldest air of the season and put an end to the growing season for Alabama. So let's go to the modeling. This is the HER, the latest run of that, starting Friday at 12 o'clock. And you'll notice here as I push this forward, just look at the coverage. What do we say about models, though? They're certainly not the answer key. They give us an idea. And this has spotty showers, none in northern Alabama, and the best cluster in central and southern Alabama as we head through the evening. This is at 6 o'clock. We'll be looking at the start of a lot of playoff games here. And if you're south of I-20, if you're closer to US 80, there's a good chance that we have rain as part of the forecast here. You're going to notice a secondary area up here. This is part of a line of storms that will initiate earlier along a frontal boundary that's further north. And that's going to be our overnight threat. But notice when I say threat, it really just diminishes. Now the front's still there, it stalls out. And then Saturday afternoon, the idea would be that we'd see a refiring along that line and perhaps some additional rain. So I'm going to switch over to another model here. This one just goes out a little bit further. So once again, Friday afternoon, very spotty rain chances, but notice there's a concentration of rain further south, beginning in Marengo County, shifting over towards Autauga County, and this kind of right along US 80 here. And then it still is depicting that line coming through overnight. You can see that right here. That is along a frontal boundary, and it looks like if you're up near Gadsden, Etowah, Cherokee counties, Morgan County, DeKalb County, we could be looking at our best potential of rain there in the middle of the night, Friday. Heading into the day Saturday, once again, a front's going to be pushing through, but these showers are just so sparse. I think there's a lot of us that are going to go the whole weekend without rain. Some of us might have a few thunderstorms, but it's an odd system. It's where everything's not quite lining up time-wise to give us some beneficial rain. So here is something called the Energy Helicity Index. What this looks at is the amount of instability or energy available, and also the wind shear parameters, helicity, within the first 3 kilometers of the lowest levels of the atmosphere. And the numbers here are showing it is very unlikely to see rotating storms up here in northern Alabama. These are very low values. You'd like to see values of red at least, perhaps some orange, but we don't have a ton of instability. We have some okay wind shear, but it's speed shear. A lot of the winds are unidirectional, meaning they're the same from surface to aloft. That can sometimes lead to some gusty winds, but you got to get the thunderstorms going, and we just don't have a lot of instability here. So I don't see a ton of severe weather in the forecast. And this is the other interesting thing here is rain totals. This is that 3K model again. This is through 11 o'clock on Saturday and kind of highlighting northeast Alabama up to about a half an inch. Some spotty areas where we saw those heavier clusters of showers show up. And then what's interesting is that the wiregrass, very little. Again, a lot of Alabama may not get any rain out of this at all. So highs on Friday are going to be in the mid 70s. There's going to be a few spots in the 80s in the southern half of the state. We stay in the warm sector again. Behind that rain on Fridays, no air mass change, no temperature change. Saturday, we're looking at temperatures again in the 60s to start. It's going to be a warm, kind of muggy start to the day. It'll be warm in the afternoon, mid to upper 70s, 80s on Saturday. And if we have enough of that instability, maybe we get a few thunderstorms. But the big change comes on Sunday as that front pushes through. It turns very, very windy Sunday afternoon. And this is a look at our potential temperatures by Monday morning. Got 30 at Birmingham, 35 in Troy. We got 39 in Dothan. There's a good chance that in the afternoon it feels very cold all day. It'll be breezy, gradient winds. Highs are going to be in the 40s for the northern half of the state, low 50s down to the Wiregrass in southwest Alabama. And then early Tuesday, we'll have a lot of 20s in Alabama, even all the way down to the Wiregrass. I would not be surprised if there were 20s. So definitely a cold air mass. Let's show this from a wind chill perspective. I've plotted the surface winds on here as well, and it's going to be it is going to be a blustery and raw afternoon, very winter-like. This is at 2 o'clock on Monday. Going to feel like, again, we are in the, let's see, let me make sure I've got the wind chill plotted here. Let's go. All right, so this is how it could feel at about 2 o'clock. 40 in Hamilton, 36 in Huntsville, 40 at Birmingham, 41 in Sylacauga, 53 in Dothan, 50 in Troy. That's winter-like feels there. And then you get to the overnight and really beginning at about, let's see, back this up a little bit. Beginning at about 5, 6 o'clock, it's going to feel like we're around freezing. It'll be the case really all night. Winds will be fairly calm, though, so wind chill's not as big of an issue by Tuesday morning when the lows are actually in the 20s. So the breeziest conditions will actually be ahead of the coldest air, and then we start to warm up from there. Speaking of, if you're really wanting it to warm up, here's our temperature outlook. This is through November 20th, 7 days prior to Thanksgiving. So warm weather fans, it might come back and be a little bit more pleasant. So that's our forecast discussion for the Alabama weekend. We'll keep a close eye on it. Y'all have a great afternoon, and we'll see you next time.